Changes in state law mean a photo ID is now required to vote. Board of Elections Director Terri Robertson explained voter ID requirements and options for people who need to get an ID.
Beginning with the March 2016 primary, most voters who appear in person to vote will be required to show an acceptable form of ID. The list for acceptable forms of voter ID are available on the State Board's website. There's a link from our website to the State Board's website. The acceptable forms are North Carolina driver's license, a North Carolina ID, a military ID, veterans ID, tribal IDs, and passports. The State Board of Election has a voter outreach team who will assist those who need to get ID who are unable to do it on their own in getting an acceptable form of ID. Their information is located on the State Board's webpage, or if you contact us, we can get you in contact with an outreach team member. There are options for those who are unable to obtain an ID. One is to vote an absentee ballot by mail, and when they complete the request for their absentee ballot, make sure they put the last 4 digits of their Social Security number on it. Or they may appear in person at the one-stop site or on election day at their polling site, vote a provisional ballot, and sign a declaration of reasonable impediment. And on that form it lists reasons why you may not be able to get an ID, and then they would be given a provisional ballot.
The North Carolina primary election has moved from May to March 15th. Board of Elections Director Terri Robertson reminds voters of the new primary and other important dates.
The primary in 2016 will be held on March the 15th. It was moved from May for the presidential preference. All the other primaries that would have occurred in May have also been moved. Those were the state and local primaries. Also on the primary ballot will be bond referendums. Well, the first date I'd like for everybody to be aware of is that February 19th is the last day to register to vote for the primary. So that's the deadline. Make sure you're registered or make changes by then. The mailing of absentee ballots has already begun. So the last day that we will mail an absentee ballot by mail and the last day to apply for a ballot to be mailed to you will be March the 8th. We do encourage everyone to request their absentees early, because one of the problems with absentee ballots is the postmark, because the post office no longer postmarks all the mail. And if it is received in our office 3 days after the election but is postmarked election day, it's an acceptable ballot. But if it's not postmarked, it is not. So make sure it is postmarked. One-stop voting will begin March the 3rd and will end March 12th. The requirements to vote one-stop are the same as election day. When you enter the one-stop site, you will show an acceptable form of ID. You will state your name, your address, and your party affiliation. If you are an unaffiliated voter, then you will state to the registration person which party primary you would like to vote in. If you do not wish to declare a party to vote that day, you may vote an unaffiliated ballot, but only thing on those ballots will be a judge's race and the bond referendums. There have been changes in 5 polling places since the last big election. The polling place at Cross Creek 8, which was at the fire station in Haymont, will now be at Holy Trinity Episcopal Church on Rayford Road. The polling place for Cross Creek 27 that was located at Cliffdale Branch Library will now be at Cliffdale Recreation Center. The polling place for Cross Creek 32, which was at Ponderosa Elementary School, is now located right down the road on Bonanza Drive at Westover Recreation Center. The polling site for Almond 1, which was located at Lloyd E. Almond Recreation Center, is now going to be located at the Church of Nazarene on Raconda Road. And the polling place for Stony Point number 2, that was located at Stony Point Baptist Church, will now be at Lighthouse Baptist Church on Rockfish Road. The Board of Elections is located at 227 Fountainhead Lane. We are there to provide service to the voters of this county. We will help you complete applications for absentee ballots, for voter registration applications, answer your questions, and point you in the direction you need to go if we're unable to provide the service you need.